दो, हो गया? मेरा लैपटॉप ऑन, ठीक है। So hello everybody, good evening. Let us start with our current affairs revision, rapid revision of current affairs through the MCQs. Fine, and today we will be starting with the months of November. So November MCQs today we will see based on the current affairs of the month of November 2022. Fine, so let us start with the first question, and that is related to BASE, that is Bank for Settlement. Fine, the first question is related to Bank for International Settlement. So let us see the first question. Let us start with the first question, that is related to the BASE. Fine. So starting with the very first question, please see and try to answer it. Yes. Yes. So what should be the correct answer here? Yes, anyone? No idea? Okay, so Bank for International Settlement is basically a bank of all the central banks of world. ठीक है, a banker to the banks of central banks. Fine. Initially, it was established in the year 1974 with the 10 central banks. Means you can say 10 countries. Fine. The governors, that is central bank governors of the 10 countries, came together and they established this. Fine, Bank of International Settlement. After that, this BASE serves as a bank for central banks. Yes, this is true. Then Secretariat of Basel. Again, one thing, if you remember, we have Basel norms. Basel norms, under which RBI comes with this CRAR and capital to risk awaited asset ratio, where they make provisions where in order to save banks from the situation of like NPS crisis and all, so that banks have at least certain amount of money out of their deposits in order to meet over, or in order to use this amount in matter of crisis. Okay, so we have provisions of CRAR. So Basel norms, related to Basel norms for the banks, Basel norm 1, 2 and 3. Currently 3 is the 3 has been implemented. So this is located at the bank for, yes, the headquarter of this bank is again in Basel. Basel is in Switzerland. Yes. So these all of the 3 are correct. Okay. Okay. Next is spaghetti ball effect, related to spaghetti ball effect. Yes, any idea? Yes? No, this is related to the multiplication of free trade agreements threatening WTO position. This term was firstly used in the year 1995 by Indian American economist, great renowned economist Jagdish Bhagwati in the year 1995, where he criticized basically the free trade agreements. I hope you are aware of free trade agreements, where generally, like, even we are concluding free trade agreements with other countries, where you see that minimal tariff rates, minimum two-way tariffs. that is both the nations or the nations involved in such kind of FTAs agrees to cut down on the tariffs. Fine, even on certain products they reduce it to 0 even. Fine. So this is what, because he criticized this, multiplication or widening of, you can say, fine, or spreading of large number of trade agreements among the two countries or three countries, like bilateral, multilateral, because he says that WTO somewhere, WTO position jo hai, that is getting diluted with such kind of this FTAs, because then country would start dealing among themselves only, then there would be no need of an international organization which is purely related to international trade. Fine. So there would be no need of such organization. So that's why I criticize on this. Next is imported inflation. Okay, this is easier one. So what is imported inflation? Both? Yes. Because of the rise in prices of imported in commodities, inflation is termed as imported, of course, and the weakening of the domestic currency may lead to imported inflation, because if currency is weakened, like we need to pay more in terms of, yes, Pakistan example, or even in terms of India, like our rupee is depreciating in comparison to dollars, so we need to pay more for imports. So again it would lead to imported inflation. So both are correct. Pakistan financial here, there are lots of issues, like first and the biggest issue is BOP crisis, balance of payment issue. They don't have enough of forex reserves to import. Fine, means they don't have enough of dollars in their account to pay back to the import, the exporting nations, those who are exporting to the Pakistan. Fine. So somewhere the international trade front jo hai, that has totally been limited by the paucity or the limited amount of forex reserves of Pakistan. The same thing happened in case of Sri Lanka as well, few times before. Fine. So this is, and even the same thing happened in case of India just prior to 1991 when we had this BOP crisis, and after that we came up with the new economic policy. Fine. Because it was not a choice for us, but it was a compulsion under which we accepted this NEP with the conditionalities put forth upon India by the this IMF particularly, which deals with the BOP issues. Okay, so next is DIGC, Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. Under this, basically, if we are depositing certain amount in the banks which should be more than 5 lakhs, so whatever amount is there lying in your accounts, be it crores or 50 lakhs or whatever, more than 5 lakhs. So earlier in India, this DIGC, your deposit was insured and guaranteed, credit guarantee was there for just amount of rupees 1 lakh. But now it has been revised to 5 lakh. Yes. So what should be correct answer here? Not all of the above, though cooperative societies are there but not the primary. Cooperative banks are there but not the cooperative societies. Primary cooperative society like PACs, primary agriculture cooperative societies. Fine. So that's why this is not correct, just 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust. Okay. So what should be correct answer? One and two. Even 3 is correct, because majority of the portfolio of REITs should be invested in completed or rent generating properties. That majority in figures comes to somewhere around 80%. So that's why it's a majority. So all 3 are correct here. Okay, next, sovereign gold bonds. Yes. Yes, 1 and 2. Yes, this is not issued by, rather issued by RBI. It's a sovereign gold bond, or in other sense securities of government. So generally the securities of government, mostly deal, because central bank is a banker to the government also, so deals with this whole sets of government related transactions. But here particularly RBI deals with this case. So we are just left with 1 and 2. Okay. Regarding fiscal prudence. Yes. Yes, only one. Only one is incorrect because it's not excess. Fine. That won't be prudence, right? You need to spend out of your whatever income you are generating or revenue you are getting. Fine. Not the excess of that. So that's why first is not the measure of fiscal prudence. Rather, second is correct because this FRBM came into being, especially with the focus on the fiscal prudence, where the focus was on reducing the revenue deficit, focus was on reducing the fiscal deficit, fine, ultimately to reduce the unnecessary expenditures of the government, fine, or revenue expenditure you can say. So correct one is only 2. Okay. Good. All right. No. The wider the current, the issue is here. The wider the current account deficit means more the imports, the greater the downward pressure, not the lower on the rupee. Greater is, suppose wider आपका CAD है, means your imports is more than your exports. Fine. So if your imports are more than your exports, means you are paying more in terms of dollars than rupee, or you can say rupee में तो ऐसे भी हम ट्रेड नहीं करते, even रशिया ने भी मना कर दिया. So when you are doing this, means our current account is somewhere been widened. ठीक है, import is more than export. Now how this will put downward pressure on the rupee? Now since we are importing more, means we need more of dollars. So demand for dollars will increase somewhere. Supply may remain constant or decrease of rupee. ठीक है, but and this will somewhere lead to, since more of your imports will lead to depreciation of currency with respect, depreciation of rupee in terms of appreciation of dollars, exchange rate, in terms of exchange rate. So that's why there would be more pressure or greater pressure on the rupee downward side, and upward pressure would be there on the dollars. Fine. So correct here is just 1 and 2. Okay. Okay, AIIB. Any idea about this? Two and three, yes. Okay. First is I said time and again I say emphasize on the extreme words. All, always. Not all G20 nations are member of this AIB. They cannot because focus is on Asia primarily and then beyond. Fine. Secondly, China is the largest shareholder in the bank undoubtedly because the headquarter of this bank or even this bank was set up with the initiative of China only to counter the Western or American dominated World Bank and IMF. So this was an Asian answer to this Western hegemony. So China is the largest share, undoubtedly somewhere the share is around 26%, and second highest is of India, not Russia. That is somewhere around 7%, 7.6 somewhere. Shareholders. So correct is only one. Okay. GDP of India include okay. Yes, what should be correct answer? Neither? Okay. So first is correct. Why so? Gross capital investment made in India. What is GDP per se? Yes, so gross capital investment you will produce only when you invest during a financial year. This is clear. Value of goods and services provided by NRIs, but here we are talking about domestic. Fine. This will be true only and only when we will be talking about GNP and not GDP. Gross national product. When you talk about national, then income from rest of the world will be added and income to the rest of the world will be subtracted. The net income will be added or subtracted. Then the domestic would be converted to the national. Fine. So the correct here only is 1. Okay. Which of the following factors can lead to inflation? Yes, all correct. I mean, is there any issue with anyone? Supply bottlenecks indeed. Demand more, supply less. Rapid economic recovery because this will put more stress on your demand. This is what USA is facing basically. Demand, cost push, demand pull inflation, to which we say. And this is cost push. When there is supply bottlenecks, we have cost push inflation. When you have demand, this rapid economic recovery, then we have demand pull inflation. Fine. Higher wages for workers, again more the wages, more the demand, again demand pull. Government giving a stimulus. When you will be giving a stimulus, people will spend demand more. So all three are demand pull inflation. This is cost push inflation. So in nutshell, all of them are correct. Okay, angel investors. Yes, any idea? Both, not both, because Why to buy back failed firms for asset restructuring? Actually, they invest in some growing firms like startups, be startup, or they acquire certain part of the shares or the equity.
Shark Tank.
Yes, Shark Tank kind of thing, where they forecast the future, potential or future, better return in future, not in failed. Why to invest in a failed firms? Okay, second is correct. So incorrect is one only. Okay, under RBI Act. Yeah, this happened recently. RBI had to answer the government that why it failed to meet the inflation targeting. So what seems to be correct here or incorrect? Is correct. Okay. Yeah, all of them are correct. I think no issue with either of the statements. Fine. Okay. Okay. MPC. Yes. Only two? 1 and 2. 1 is not correct because 6 members including the RBI governor were each, not each. Out of the 6, 3 to be nominated by RBI and 3 by the government, not all of them. Fine, it's saying nominated by RBI, no, not alone. Meets every 2 months to evaluate the current status and outlook for inflation economic. This is fine, every 2 months. And when the Monetary Policy Committee wants to contain inflation, they follows dear money policy. There are two policy basically mechanism. Dear money policy, where you increase the repo, then only you would be able to control the inflation, repo rate, and cheap money policy. The other is cheap money policy, sasti. So cheap money policy, you just reduce the opposite, repo rate, in order to bring more liquidity in the economy. And that's why, so correct is 2 and 3 only? Yes. Okay. Okay, PTAs. We were talking about FTAs, so these are segments of the FTAs only. Yes, what is incorrect? Yes, second. Why? Fine. So where there is a partial scope, they cannot, used in place of PTAs. Fine. There is a difference because PTA is saying either lowered or zero tariffs. Fine. So when zero tariffs or lower, partial scope means on some of the matters. When we talk about partial scope, means first condition is the number of goods to be traded would be limited, small numbers, fine. And secondly, even the rates won't go to the, in the range of 0, but lesser than earlier, fine. Next is direct tax revenue and indirect tax revenue. Yes, non-tax revenue. Again incorrect. Yes, direct tax revenue is charged against not the services. Services पे जो tax लगता है that is indirect. This is rather income. For example, income tax, that is direct tax revenue source. Non-tax revenue includes interest charge on loans, advances. Of course, this is correct. So incorrect is one only. Fallback liability. Yes, fallback liability. Any idea? No idea? It is related to the e-commerce rules. Suppose, for example, Amazon or Flipkart. So, if some seller is selling any product on these particular platforms, so these particular platforms, the liability will fall back to the platforms. They would be accountable. Fine. If the consumers felt cheated. Fine. अगर product ही delivered नहीं हुआ या कुछ गलत हुआ, so finally they would be liable for whatever taking place over their platforms by the different sellers. Fine. So that's why we have fallback liability, means liability will fall back to the platforms, fine, who are hosting the sellers. Solar facility. I hope we are aware of ISA, Gurugram based, led by India and France. Okay. So what should be correct here? One and three. Any issue with two? Yes, it basically it aims indeed. This solar facility has been propagated, or ISA came up with such kind of facility, basically focusing on the high potential solar technology by attracting private capital to flow into underserved markets in Africa. Of course, the focus is on tapping the African continent, the potential especially of the solar energy in the Africa, because Africa, apart from South Africa, majority of the African nations are poor. So China is making investment there. So even the ISA is planning to make investment there, including India, fine, in order to tap because our focus is on one world, one grid, fine, the whole world to be interconnected through solar power grid, and that is possible only when all the continents are being connected, fine. That's why our focus is also on the Africa, especially those which are lying, earlier it was conditional like those who are lying in tropics, but now it has been made general. ये भी ठीक है. So all of them are correct. Formation of foam in river waters. I hope you might have seen the Yamuna in the winters. Okay, so any idea about this? Last is 2 and 3. Okay. Answer is? Okay. Why 2 not 2? Yeah, foam in the river is completely reduced. No. Rather the major, throughout the year we find this, but during winter particularly we see the reduction, rather increment. So correct is 1 and 3. First is correct due to phosphate from detergents. Second, not reduced, rather this winter propels this process of formation of foam. Yes, increases, not decreases. And this is the particular place is Okhla Barrage. located in the Yamuna, connected to Yamuna. Okhla barrage, where we generally see this Yamuna froth or Yamuna foam. Fine. Year-round phenomena this is, but generally we see upward trend, particularly in the winters. So 1 and 3. Okay, Pusa decomposer. Okay, so what should be correct answer? The only issue is the second option. It's not 1 to 2 days, it's somewhere around 20 to 25 days. Rest is fine. Fine. So correct is 1 and 3 only. Okay, plants prepare glucose in the process of. Easier one. Yes, glucose and oxygen both. Photosynthesis. Okay, regarding reserved forests. Yeah, the issue is here only.
Yes.
This act is correct, 1986 environment, but the act which should come here is not this one, but rather Indian Forest Act, 1927. Yes, Britishers came up with, yes, Indian Forest Act 1927. So correct 2 and 3. Yes. Okay, oil spills. Bioremediation. Bioremediation is using biological or microorganisms kind of things to remediate, remedify the harmful effects of the oil spills that we generally see in the oceans and all, the trading routes. In this we can use both, either microorganisms or even plants. Yeah, so all of them seems to be correct here. It's similar to bacteria, but the only issue is we don't see any presence of membrane in this particular hard shell. Okay. Okay, global warming potential. Yes. No, the issue is with the third statement. Fine, let me enlarge it. Okay, the issue is with the third one. Why so? Gases such as nitrous oxide and methane, potential greenhouse gases, absorbs more energy than carbon dioxide, but stays in for shorter periods. Yes. Because over 20 years horizon, if you see, the global warming potential of these two gases are 80 times more than carbon dioxide. Yes. So correct here is 1 and 2 only. Okay, Rotterdam Convention. Rotterdam, it is in Netherlands. This convention is related to yes. Yes, this is very much correct. It's a certain hazardous chemicals. Fine. This is correct. Rotterdam Convention was basically came into force in 2004, but India signed this or adopted this in 2006. Not actually, it was adopted in 1998. There are 3 years to remember. Adopted in 1998, came into force in 2004, and India finally rectified or signed this in 2006. So these 3 the different years. Fine. Okay, this is legally binding. Remember this thing. India acceded to this in 2006, and of course, the primary responsibility is to put checks over certain hazardous chemicals. Okay, international trade of these chemicals especially. Okay. Next is bioluminescence is the property of course it has already been defined here, so that's easier then. Okay. So which of the following organisms show the property of bioluminescence? Seems to be easier one. So what seems to be correct here? Yes, all of the above. Yes. But these all are, yes. Let me see if there is certain. Yeah, even fungi is there. So all of them are correct. Next is diesel. Diesel and diesel only. Okay. Okay. Why we see more of diesel cars or this all in this?
For average purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is correct. That at present the scenario is different. Now we have already raised the if you see the margin between diesel and petrol prices in India, I don't think a rational person would like to go with the diesel vehicles because the margin is hardly 18 rupees. And and now we are shifting towards electrification, hybridization, and all. So of course, not beneficial to go for diesel vehicles now. This is the policy matter, the policy issues where government is coming with such thing. Even Supreme Court pushed the government to raise these diesel prices in order to eliminate the diesel on these vehicles. Second is correct, yes, because that's why the European Union tried to promote this fuel during that time period. Kyoto Protocol was signed in 1997. So during that time period, EU promoted this fuel. Only reason was that it contains little more carbon per liter than petrol. That is a negative thing, fine. But the second reason was there. Because of this second reason, the third becomes, is correct. Otherwise, third statement seems to be incorrect, totally incorrect if you read it. But because of second only, second statement makes third also correct. Fine. First is of course not this. First is also correct, fine. But first cannot be the reason for promoting the diesel as a fuel. Fine. So that's the only issue why all of them are correct. Okay. Glasgow. So Glasgow, this COP26 happened in Glasgow, Scotland. Yes, Panchamrit, this, and I think there only we placed to be this net zero by 2070 also. Yes. Okay. Okay, so what is correct here? Yes. You have doubt on the third, but third is correct, and doubt should be there on the second. It's the other way around. Paris is going to succeed the Kyoto, not the Kyoto is going to succeed Paris. Kyoto, I have already said, is 1997. Paris is December 2015. So of course Paris would be successor to the Kyoto. And remember, this is legally binding as well. This is very much correct. COP is a supreme. That's why we see the COP meeting, COP26, COP27. Had it not been the supreme, then why we just keep on talking about the COP? Fine. So correct here is 1 and 3. Yes. Okay. Indices. Yeah, that's the only issue here. NDCs are not legally binding, but voluntary. Okay, and pledges cannot be legally binding. Fine. Rest 2 and 3 are correct. This is a principle of CBDR only, common but differentiated responsibilities, and NDC is every 5 years. Yes, time is same, every 5 years. India has already submitted to this UNFCCC Secretariat to this NDCs, revised NDCs for the 2021. So the correct here is 2 and 3. Okay. Next is Stockholm Convention. One similarity that we should keep in mind is the similarity between Rotterdam and Stockholm. Though Rotterdam was adopted in 1998 but implemented in 2004, fine, worldwide, but India ratified it in 2006. The similar case goes with this Stockholm as well. It came into existence or implemented in the year 2004 again, but India again ratified in 2006. These two are important because time and again, especially in exams, you see these questions repeated and getting repeated. So that's why it become important to, you know, have the clarity of the difference between the two. One deals with what, the other deals with what. Fine. So this deals with, I mean, whether this is correct or not.
Is it related to compound also?
Yes, POPs are basically industrial chemicals and pesticides like dioxins. Then we have furans, different. Around 8 there, total 8 in numbers, which India actually eliminate. Yes, so both are correct. Mangrove Alliance. This alliance came into being in, not mentioned here or mentioned here. Yes, COP27. COP27 took place in Egypt. We have seen 26 as well. 26 was in Scotland. And Paris was COP15, remember.
Yes.
It was COP15. Not 15, that was COP21. It took place in the year 2015, December 2015, but that was COP21. Sometimes you get such question for matching. COP21, COP26, 27 and COP. So things are like that. Okay. What seems correct here? Yes, so this was initiated in the COP27 meeting as well. On the sidelines of this meeting, this COP21 meeting, 27, it was initiated by UAE and Indonesia, remember, and the country current members include India, Sri Lanka, Australia, Japan, and Spain. Fine, a distant Spain from European side. Rest are Asian, you can say, or this. Yes, so correct is this is not based on checks and balances because no alliance can put such things on a sovereign nation and not accountable. Okay? So this is voluntary in nature. So 1, 2 and 3 only correct. Okay. Yes. Consider this one. Okay.
Only one is correct, sir.
Yes.
Gujarat is one of the state where
Yes, Gujarat is rather the only abode of both. Only abode of both Asiatic lions and Indian wild lions. So only correct is one only. Yeah. Too far. Okay. Fishing cats are mainly found in cats. Basically, these are fishing because they generally reside in the water bodies, wetlands. Yeah, they catch and just fishes, feed down fishes basically. So they are the cats of the oceans or wetlands basically, the water bodies, nutshell. So wetlands are their favorite habitats, okay? And of course they are found in the foothills of Himalaya alongside the Ganga and Brahmaputra river valleys, alongside Western Ghats, mangrove forests of Sundarbans, Delta, okay, and Western Ghats as well. So all of them are correct here. Ganga, Yamuna, and this valley as well. Okay, hydrogen. Okay. Our focus is on hydrogen, National Hydrogen Mission. Okay.
One is not, one is not correct, sir.
Not correct? Why?
Most of the element.
Yes, it's the most abundant element available on Earth, but not in its purest form.
Yes.
That's the issue. So correct, incorrect is, yeah, second is correct. Density is more than less. Okay, Suka Paika River originated from, or you can say a tributary of.
Maybe sir Mahanadi first.
Yes, Mahanadi. What happened is, especially this used to flow 70 years back, 60, 70 years back ago, and now the Odisha government, especially in the areas of Cuttack district, flows through. So now they are trying to rejuvenate this river, fine. So that's why it was in news, river Mahanadi. Okay. Manikaran in Himachal Pradesh is known for, yes, geothermal energy because of the presence of hot springs. Okay, period of steady population growth.
I think sir, it is in the like 51, 81.
No, it is 2151.
Sir, 21 and
1901 and 1921 was the period of stagnant or stationary phase. 2151 period of steady population growth. 5181 explosion, and now the reverse trend, stabilization. So the highest was this. This is explosion. This is stagnation. Coronal holes related to the sun. Last is 1, 2, 3. Last option is all three. Okay, so what should be correct here? So what happened, NASA observatory had recently captured, I mean in the months of October, November, some dark patches on the sun. Fine, it was and on the surface of the sun resembling eyes and smiling, like we have emojis and all, smiling kind of things. So NASA explained that these patches that we see, especially the dark patches, these patches are basically referred to as coronal holes, that is holes in the surface of, on the surface of sun, and which can be seen in ultraviolet light but cannot be seen by our naked eyes or invisible to human eyes. Fine. Plus, these are the regions, these coronal holes are the regions on the sun surface from where fast solar wind gushes out. Fine. And they have lower temperatures, that's why they appear much darker. Fine, because of lower temperature, not the high temperature. So issue here is with, yes, it's a lower. Correct is correct. Yes, 1 and 3. Okay. Geomagnetic storms. Geomagnetic storms. Magnetosphere, I hope we are clear with. What is magnetosphere? Then you have ionosphere. Magnetosphere are basically the space around any planet. Here we are talking about us magnetosphere. That's why this is a space around any planet, you know, which is influenced by the planet's magnetic field. So Earth's magnetic field here. Fine. Yes. And then next is ionosphere. Of course, most of the signals we get from the ionosphere. That is the upper atmospheric layer. Okay. And then first is solar wind into the space environment surrounding Earth. Energy from solar wind. Yes. Yes. So even first seems to be correct here. Yes, there is a very efficient exchange of energy from this. Okay. So all of them correct. Delhi's geography and weather condition. Yes, so what seems to be correct here? Southwest monsoon.
Second is not correct. No.
No, I think second is correct.
First is also.
Yeah.
Western is not
Yes, so all correct here. Any doubt anywhere?
First is also incorrect.
Yeah, first is,
Incorrect.
it's not incorrect, it's correct. Southwest monsoon, you see, when monsoon winds coming from here, this area, south and west, their phase primarily is like eastward. Like यहाँ से ऐसे जा रहे हैं, and they are from here. Fine. Let us take the only southwest in the first option here, southwest,
Yes.
marching towards, and then from here going to bend this side.
Definitely.
Fine? Yes. Once the monsoon withdraws in the month of somewhere around September, so predominant direction of the wind changes to northwest. North and then west. Yeah, this one. This only this direction changes. Okay? And further, you see the majority of these arrows which goes this side on the onset of this winter monsoon, you see. Then we see the rainfall in the areas of Tamil Nadu. So the fall in temperature also contributes to increased pollution level. That is very much true.
Yes.
Start sinking, low temperature, high pressure. So all of them correct? Yes. Total lunar eclipse. Yesterday I think we had this lunar eclipse, not the total one, or the total one. Okay. Yes. Only issue here is this is not a rare event. It occurs occasionally, once in somewhere on an average around 1.5 years. Yes, not this longer, 10 to 12 years. So only issue is with 3. Correct is 1 and 2. Yes. Okay. TFR and population. Two only? I think third statement is very much in line with what we are experiencing nowadays, especially with respect to India. No? So what is correct here? It's not always, but normally. Why cannot be always? Any example? Yes? Reduction in mortality always leads to rising population. Of course, China. But China altogether a different aspect, and I mean there is an issue of one child policy also. So rather take different country. Let us say Japan. Mortality is lesser. Developed country, even Russia. Yes, and TFR is the number of course this is true. Population can keeps growing even with TFR falling. This is very much in line with India's current status. See, earlier we had somewhere TFR of around 2.6%, 2.2%, but the latest NFHS data, if you see, it is somewhere around 2.0. I mean, this is how we are going down. Fine. But replacement level should be 2.1. What is replacement level or replacement rate? That a woman alongside her spouse, if bearing 2 children throughout her reproductive age, so means those 2 persons are replacing those 2 persons, that is father and mother. And on an average it should be more than 2.0 because not every child is going to survive throughout whole of life. So in that sense we just take more than increase this replacement rate by 0.1. So overall impact would be in positive sense. Fine, because not every child is going to survive, that's clear. Okay, so correct is 2 and 3 only. Okay. SEWA, Self-Employed Women Association, a very renowned personality associated with SEWA passed away. Fine, and named was Ella Bhatt. So that's why SEWA is there in news. Okay, so any idea? No idea? SEWA, this Self-Employed Women Association, was set up by Ella Bhatt in the year 1972 only. Finally, remember Wildlife Protection Act year 1972, and it was born out of an old organization. Okay? The name was TLA, that is Textile Labor Association, which was founded by Ansuya Sarabhai alongside Mahatma Gandhi in the year 1920. Fine. And it was registered as a trade union only in the year 1972, not prior to that, not till 1972. After that, as early as 1974, SEWA Bank was established to provide small loans. So even SEWA facilitates the small bank services as well. So this is not affiliated to any ministry. This is a kind of trade union. Yes. So correct is 1 and 3 only. Okay, regarding cooperative societies. But the history of cooperative, remember, dates way back to pre-independence. Fine, especially when we had this kind of issues with this agrarian distress. Fine, and another side is overall indebtedness, money lending and all money lenders. So second statement is not correct. This not first and not after, but rather pre. It should have been pre. Fine. So rest is fine. I think 1 and 3 only. Okay. Yellow rust disease. We also call it yellow rust or stripe rust. जो crops की stripes हैं वो yellow होना start हो जाती हैं. So that's why the other name. Yes, stripe rust.
But it does not affect the photosynthesis, but what is the purpose?
Yeah, that's the only issue here. It does affect the photosynthesis. So 1 and 2 on. Fine. Okay. Suspension bridges. Yes. Yeah, the single lane motorable longest bridge in India is built over Tehri Lake in Tehri Garhwal district of Uttarakhand. Yeah, it's not in Gujarat. First is correct, compression and tensional forces. These two forces, like compression is a vertical force, fine, which especially when we see the pillars, अगर यहाँ पे pillars हैं, basically this force is like this, is squeezing this, fine, balancing the effect, like this goes like this, another, and this kind, these are the supports. So tensional force is like this, moving in both the directions, spreading the weight of this. Let us say this is a weight, person standing here, fine. So they try to balance the imbalances, fine. So tensional forces are basically the vertical forces moving in both the direction of, and this is a vertical force moving in a single direction. So correct here is correct. One only? Yes. Okay. Shigella infection. Hold on. Okay. Shigella. Okay. The family is bacteria, and that's why it is known as Shigella.
Yes.
Fine. Of course, diarrhea is there, main sign. So correct. Yes. So correct is 1 and 3. Yes. Yeah, intestinal, fine. UV radiation. Both are correct, so both are incorrect. Of course, disinfect the air and also in water treatment. No air? Yeah, this has been used to disinfect the air, especially in the hospitals. Not the outdoor airs, but inside like this. Yeah, hospitals, laboratories are also in water treatment. Basically, a wavelength इनकी होती है around 254 nanometers, so that's why they can be used. So these are used, in house, like in hospitals, like in laboratories, not in outside. So that's why both are, neither of them are incorrect, since both are correct. Fine. Okay, next is alopecia areata. What is it? Two is incorrect. Okay.
There is no increase diabetes and thyroid. There are also
Yeah, but incorrect are both. I mean, both are correct, so neither incorrect. This is very much true. Thyroid, I have seen in this case in my mother only. Yes, she has thyroid. So, yes, no, not diabetes, but only thyroid. So because of thyroid, I have seen this kind of patches, losses of hair. What is saying? Family history of no, that's not related. These three things are separate here. I think have a family history of autoimmune conditions. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's autoimmune conditions only.
either diabetic or either thyroid. If you have a thyroid or
Not about either. I mean, any of the two can be. Yeah. Yes. And I have seen the thyroid case. So since both are correct, so none of them are incorrect. Okay, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, NMR. Okay. Yes, 2 is incorrect, 1 is correct only. It can. Yeah, incorrect is 2 only. First is very much true. This is the most, you can say, powerful technique for determining this structure of organic compounds. Okay, next is tomato flu. And this is interesting one. Even I found it interesting one. So, okay. But see, this is not related to tomato as such.
this is self-limiting or
Yeah.
it seems not. Also, yeah, but the right of use is going na. There is no transfer नहीं है specific transfer this.
Not all of the above. It's contagious. Yes. Actually, there is the symptoms is related to tomato fever. That's why the name is tomato flu. Fine. So that's the case. And like if you further go into the symptoms like rashes, skin irritation, dehydration, of course it seems like a color of tomato, the whole body. So that's why it's a name. And it's a self-limiting one. So when it is self-limiting one, so there is no need for a specific drug. Fine. So comes with certain specific durations, then is a contagious one. Correct is just 1 and 3. Yes. Okay, Indian remote sensing IRS satellites mainly used for is IRS only, Indian remote sensing. Okay.
Assessment of crop productivity.
I think for telecom,
I think this is not telecommunication.
yes, for I think for this we have IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, somewhere like this. Yeah, so only where his issue is with fourth, so correct is 1, 2, 3, 5. Fine. The primary, the program is, this program came was initiated with the aim to support national and sub-national economic development. Fine. In the areas of agriculture, soils, water resources, forestry, ecology, geology, minerals, even watershed, coastal and disaster management. So basically mapping the geography. Okay, considering the these following statements, measles and rubella. Okay. The issue is with the second statement. It says that it can either be handled with the 2 doses of measles vaccine, 2 doses of measles vaccine, or either in combination. Fine. So this goes like this. I mean, either you can take the 2 doses of measles vaccine only, or you can take in combination of both. So it's not must that only you need to take into combination. You can take separately the 2 doses of only measles vaccine. Fine. So that is the issue here. So again, correct is 1 and 3 only. Okay, which of the following missions have the objective to ensure return of humans to moon? One thing is clear from this statement, that return of humans to moon. So probably this mission would be undertaken by a country which has already done this. It is talking about returns, means already done it. No. I think we have not been able to send any man to moon, humans to moon. India. I mean, our Indian people might have been to moon, but not from India. Okay. We are trying to go to Sun first, Gaganyaan mission under pipeline, probably by the end of this year. So this is related to the Artemis. Basically, it was undertaken by the NASA, fine, alongside the 3 partner agency, that is ESA, European Space Agency, ESA, then JAXA, Japan, this Aerospace Exploration Agency, and then Canadian CSA, Canadian Space Agency. Fine. So since Apollo 17 missions were launched way back in 1972, when it sent the 2 man, what were the name of them? One was Aldrin, something like and the other was okay, man on moon. Yes, Armstrong. Okay, India is a member of which among the following organization? Yes, I think easier one, but provided we are clear with the two or not. Yes, so 1 and 2 only. Yes, 1 and 2 only.
Yes.
So Better Than Cash Alliance is basically a partnership of government, companies, NGOs, organization, and this basically working towards to achieve the self-development goals. Fine, and India joined this alliance in 2015 itself because SDGs were started in the year 2015. Fine. Prior to that, we had MDGs. So India was even inducted in SCO, which meeting is currently under this undergoing. So of course, SCO India joined in the year 2017 alongside the Pakistan. Fine. Currently, there are 8 members, and in the next month's meeting summit that is to be hosted by us, India only. So there are 2 new members going to join this, probably Iran, and other is I'm forgetting. Iran, and there is another country, probably Belarus, I think. Need to check it. Fine, but 2 countries would be there. Iran for sure. Other is probably Belarus. Need to check it. So currently 8 members are there. 2 induction, then it would be 10. There are some these observer members, some partner countries, but we are permanent member of SCO since 2017. So this is not the case. We are not member of this OIC. So just 1 and 2 correct. Okay, high burden to high impact initiative. Okay. Again, this is easier one. Sometimes you don't need to apply too much mind, just go with the flow. Yes.
So either A or either D.
Yeah, the answer is D only. Yeah, it's D only. It's a high burden countries. The keyword here. Fine, related to malaria only and WHO initiative. Okay, East Asia Summit. Last is all 3. All the above are correct. The last option. So East Asia Summit. Third is
Parents.
yes. Which one is doubtful? Which one is doubtful? Isn't second is doubtful? If it is based on the centrality of ASEAN, then how it can be based on such, any other thing? So here it should be ASEAN. Fine. Only issue is second, first and 3 correct. India has been participating in the year since its very inception, yes, since 2005. So 1 and 3 correct here, 2 wrong. Again, we are hosting this, where we have presidency of this G20 group. presiding over this G20 this year. So again, it becomes important for us.
Third is, sir, all of the BRICS countries are.
Yeah, that's where we need to, check it. You can recall, if you can, BRICS में कितने हैं? You can, just tally it with the G20 if you can recall. It needs some little bit of mind exercise. I mean, BRICS, Brazil is member of it. Brazil and Argentina from northern this Southern America. So Brazil, Russia, and this there. Then Russia, of course, member of G20. India, China, and even South Africa. So all of them are member of G20. That's why this is third is correct. Okay.
So all of the.
Yes, all of the above. So G20 basically came in the backdrop of 1990s crisis, basically, and it came into being as a not a formal group or kind of. So in 1999, 1999, it was formed in the backdrop of the financial crisis of the late 90s. Fine, that hit East Asia particularly and Southeast Asia. Okay, South Asia, like we say, East Asian crisis. So it was aimed to secure global financial stability involving especially the middle income countries. Fine. So Brazil, China, India, Russia, South Africa, all of them are there, including Saudi Arabia. Okay. Next is India has signed Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement (ECTA) with which of the following country? They recently signed with. Yes, Australia. Scott Morrison was there. I mean, not a Scott Morrison, but previous government, the next, the new president, Prime Minister of Australia. Consider the following regarding NATO. NATO is in news. Okay, so what is correct here? First statement outrightly seems to be incorrect. Yeah, so when you negate the first, you are left with just one answer. Fine. This is how even we can eliminate the one, we get the answers. So it's not, but rather it came into being after World War II. Fine. In the year 1949. 1949. So it's not just 2 and 3 are correct. No Money for Terror conference is an initiative of. Since this conference took place in India, in the months of this October, November, so that's why this becomes important.
So B France plus.
I think, are we clear about NATO? Do we have a little bit information or not? NATO is important. Okay, so this North Atlantic Treaty Organization came in 1949 with the Treaty North Atlantic Treaty itself, or even we call it Washington Treaty. Fine. And after the collapse of this 1991 USSR, especially some of the, you see, even today there are several East European nations which are member of the NATO that used to be the members of USSR alongside Russia. Fine. Today the scenario has changed. That's why even Ukraine is, requesting or demanding to be part of this NATO. And NATO works on the principle of collective defense. Means if there is attack on one member of NATO, then it would be treated as attack on whole of NATO, and retaliation would be massive. Fine. And the Article 5 of this treaty, NATO treaty itself, talks about one for all and all for one. That's what we see in Ukraine, Russia, what's going on. Everybody is there with, yes. So what is correct here? None of them are correct here. None of the above. Fine. No Money for Terror is an initiative rather of France. Fine, let me check it. Yes, it was initiated in 2018 by the French government. And France ने in fact 1989 में laid the foundation of a financial action task force. Fine, but this is not related to anywhere FATF. Okay, let us start with the polity section now. Article 44. Okay, UCC. Okay, so three things we need to check it for three statements to be correct. Yes? Yes, because part 4 deals with DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policies. These are indeed very much fundamental in the governance of the country, but not enforceable. Not enforceable. Fine, that's why 3 wrong, just 1 and 2 correct. Next. Okay, fundamental rights. Minerva Mill judgment. Okay. Okay, easy to eliminate.
So second is
Of course, it should be fundamental rights and DPSP, right? Part 4 and 3 or 3 and 4 you can say, not 5. 5. So second is wrong, just correct 1 and 3. 3 is fine. It cannot be challenged on the ground of being violative of the fundamental rights in Article 14. Any of the principal need to check it.
no, sir. 3 is also correct. Only directive principle 39B and 39C.
Yes.
It is not all.
Article 31C says that if a law is made to implement any of the directive principles, it cannot be challenged on the ground of being violative of the fundamental rights in Article 14 and 19.
Directive principles which are listed in sir 39.
Yeah, so we can say, we can assume it to be true here.
Only
I mean, it depends on how the actually examination conducting body is treating the taking into account. Otherwise, both can be true, A as well as B. Fine, presuming that how we are treating the third option, because 31C article does talks about this
But
statement.
it talks about only 39B and C, not all the directive principles.
It's 31C I am talking.
Yes, it's yours.
Yes. 31C says this. Fine. So that's what I'm saying. It's a matter of how the based on answer key how they are taking into account this statement. Otherwise, we can assume it to be true. Fine. Okay. Constitution 103, 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2003. Yes, EWS. Yes. Yes, it nowhere excludes, rather it left to the state government that whether they want to provide it or not. So third is not correct. Third is gone. Now we are left with 1 and 2. Again need to check 2 because 1 is there in both, so need to check the 2. Higher education institution and in initial recruitment in central government jobs, I think this is true. Okay, so that's why both are true. Okay. Election Commission. Yeah, he's talking about Chief Election Commissioner. He is removed in the same manner as the judges of Supreme Court. Supreme Court judges through impeachment. Election commissioners are not removed through this impeachment, but chief election commissioner, since he is holding a he is holding a constitutional post, so that's why he needs to be impeached. Fine. And yes, 1 and 3 is correct, not 2, because 2 is nowhere, I mean nothing like that, nowhere we find such kind of statements. Fine, it's nowhere mentioned or it's not in practice, nothing like that, since this absurd statement. So 1 and 3 only. Okay. Classical languages.
Only 6 languages comes by the classical language.
Yes, only 6. So there are 6 languages, fine. The first was declared in the year 2004 and that was Tamil, not Sanskrit. Sanskrit came in 2005 as second. Then third Canada, that is 2008. Then Telugu again 2008, Malayalam 2013 and Odisha 2014. So remember 2004 Tamil, then Sanskrit 2005, then two languages in same year 2008 Kannada and Telugu. Okay, and then Malayalam 2013, Odia 2014, 6 languages. Now what are the guidelines? So guideline is there should be high antiquity of its earlier text or recorded history of, let us say 1500 or 2000 years old history, recorded history, or a body of ancient text or literatures, fine, related to this particular language. And then literary tradition should be original and not borrowed one, which is mentioned there. And classical language literature being distinct from modern, there may also be discontinuity between classical language and its later forms or its offshoots. Fine. So there could be discontinuity between the ancient one and now the modern one, but there should be, considering all these 4 parameters. Next is again. This question was asked in the UPSC exam itself in 2020 probably or 2019. Ulgulan movement or the Great Tumult, we also say it. So what seems to be correct here? Yes. So let me tell you, both the statements are correct here. It was started by Birsa Munda, in fact, Dharti Abba or Bhagwan, and he, of course, encouraged the tribals to refuse. Basically, this was in the year 1899 against the Britishers' interference in the land rights of the tribals. Fine, following colonial laws and paying rent, involved the use of guerrilla tactics and warfare. So both are correct. Okay, Patan Patola. Patan Patola is an ancient art. Okay, something which were gifted to some dignitary by our Prime Minister. Keeps on gifting different kinds of art items. So here becomes question for us.
But it is not made in Rajasthan, I think it is.
Yes, Patan is where? Of course, Patan is not in. I think not.
Rajasthan is then correct.
Yeah, Patan is in Gujarat itself.
Yes.
So the ancient art of this double ikta or Patan Patola, you can say, dates back to the 11th century. Fine, it's an intricate and difficult technique of dyeing or not dyeing, known as bandhani. One of the major practitioners of this dwindling art form is Salvi family from North Gujarat, Patan. Fine. So wrong here is 3, 1 and 2 are correct. It's not Rajasthan, it's Gujarat. Okay, Hornbill Festival. I think we have done it before as well. Okay, it's Hornbill Festival. What happened? Yes. Yes, Hornbill Festival. So it is an annual festival, fine, generally being celebrated in the state of this Nagaland from December 1st to 10th. Fine. So it's in Nagaland. Now the Battle of Rezangla fought during Yes, Rezangla is located somewhere in Ladakh only. Rezangla is a tabletop. What is the correct here? Yes, B. It's during Indo-China War of 1962. Fine. This I mean, you can say this was a bright spot which we, our soldiers kept intact. And basically this Kumaon regiment ki company thi which took over this particular tabletop. So in November there was 60th anniversary of this battle. So that's why 62 to 2022, that's why it was in news. Fine. So that's it for the day. I hope you got the PDF for the previous ones. Every single PDF you have got it. Fine. So I'll be sending this one as well. Fine. Keep revising those things. Okay, so we'll be stopping here today. Fine. Any doubt, let me know, otherwise we can stop here.